an exciting guest for you today. Doing a little art journaling today with Bevie on our yeses. She's got some terrific workshops coming up. Been a friend of hers for a long time. I went to the Swiss Alps with her. She's a terrific gal. She's a great mountain climber, terrific artist, very inspiring person. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good.
Good.
I was so excited when I got your email about your upcoming workshops, journal and process painting, all sorts.
Lots going on for sure. Yeah. Excited to be back in the Grand Marais area.
It's such a pretty area.
Absolutely. It's a retreat for everyone involved, I think.
I would concur. I'm glad that I went. Cool. Can you, just for those who haven't met you yet, can you introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Bevie, and I, as Jen said, I'm an art therapist. I have my own business called Artful Soulscapes, and I have a background also in wilderness therapy and youth work, working for a nonprofit, and so in my work right now, I've integrated all of these things into a world that I really enjoy and I love just being able to share with people all these nuances and corners of learnings that I've had throughout my life. And so I think part of the prompt that I want to share today too is about how I set intention toward creating a life that feels like a yes to me, that feels like when I wake up in the morning, I want to be there. My mind, spirit, my body all agree. And so when I think about yeses, it's those kinds of things that something in your body leaps and feels just excited about it. And so one thing that I've realized is there's a lot of things we can say yes to. And if we're saying yes to things that are actually our no, that we don't have room for the things that actually make us come alive. And so part of what I wanted to do in this prompt today is to help give people opportunities to zone in on the things that really connect to your body, mind, and spirit, and are the true yeses, not the false ones that we just get sidetracked and distracted by because of our world and culture and maybe underlying messages that we have within ourselves or what we should be doing. So, yeah. So that's all that.
Well, Nikki just asked, how can art be therapy? And I thought maybe you could say a few words around that.
Yeah, absolutely. Therapy, in my mind, my definition of that would be healing. Healing and so art, the way that we approach that as art therapy, the way that we approach it is from a place of healing. And art is something that taps into our mid and lower brain if we allow it to, and helps us to connect our memories, our desires, our feelings, our emotions, our experiences in life, gives a way to express, gives visual language to it, helps us process things, and then is a mirror. It's a mirror that reflects back to us what's going on, the way we respond to all that. And so in all those ways, art to me is very healing. I've seen it be so healing for others. So, yeah, it's been healing in my own life.
Yeah, I concur. And I always tell people it's almost like it happens by accident. I've done a lot of cognitive therapy with people and art therapy, and sometimes it feels so painful when you're just talking through things. Then you make art and you kind of relax and enjoy with the art, and then suddenly, poof, there's this thing that you've been working so hard to uncover, and there it is, and it feels safer. Yeah, great prompts, ideas of authentic yeses, not the public.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like how, we do say yes to a lot of things. And this isn't necessarily focusing on all of those things that we say yes to. It's focusing on the things that when we get a taste of it, our body, mind, and spirit light up, and they light up together. And there's almost like an energetic feeling inside of us. And so in the prompt, it's like learning how to pay attention to that in our body, so that when we feel it outside of this little art prompt, you're like, oh, yeah, maybe that's one of my yeses. And so to start to pay attention, yeah. So that's one of the things, yeah.
Well, should we jump to it?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Do you have suggestions for art supplies for this?
Well, my biggest suggestion is to pay attention to the yeses with the art supplies. So what that means is I'll show you an example here. We're looking at colors. We're looking at, even in the page of my journal, looking at the page that grabs the attention in your body. Like when you put all of your materials in front of you, which color, which texture, which image, if you have collage, which words, maybe a stamp, maybe fabric. But when you look at it, there's something in you that just is like a magnetic pole. And it's like it chooses you and it says, yes, that's the thing I want to use. Mm-hmm. So try your best to not second guess that pole. And so when I would suggest what materials to use, you might have acrylic paint, water soluble, or any type of oil pastels. Collage would be great. This is a mixed media kind of prompt for whatever it is that you have near to you. Mm-hmm. But even from whatever you choose from whatever you have available, to only pay attention to the materials and the things that within you there is a magnetic pole or energy with it.
It takes some of that guessing, that thinking out, doesn't it? You just go with that gut.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So,
and it's whatever you have on hand, so that's always fun.
Exactly, whatever's on hand. And then do this too, Jen. I always keep a pile of just images around. And one of the valuable things about that is the images, we don't get as distracted by the words. Then I also keep a pile of words that are pre-cut. But if you just have a pile of images, then they can speak to you in a different kind of way.
Like you just asked, what should we aim to achieve in art?
Presence and a focus on the things that make you feel an energetic, like, aliveness in your body. So to start, actually, I want to do a very quick, maybe 1 minute visualization for a moment. Just focus in your mind an experience that you can think of in the last month where everything in your body felt at ease and you felt like you were in your happy place, meaning that everything, body, mind, and spirit, was agreeing that this is a good place to be. So if you can think of a memory, okay, and let yourself go to that memory and jot down as many things as you can. It could be on your journal page. It could be on a page next to you. But jot down as many words that come. Yes, and jot down as many words that come that connect to that memory. And take 30 seconds to do it. Okay? This is one of the ways to bring us back into our body when we're starting a journal prompt, is to do some type of visualization or memory around it. Okay, so 30 seconds. Jot down as many things as you can about this memory.
That just felt right.
It just felt right. You felt at ease, you felt joy. So then the next thing is to look at all your materials and just to intuitively choose the images, words, colors that connect to all of those yeses in your body. The yeses meaning the things that just felt right, as you said, Jen. Okay? So take another half a minute to grab those materials. Grabbing a few words here. These are the colors I have. This page I'm choosing, it has a lot of texture and interest to it. It's very tactile.
Journaling, sometimes I like working ahead and just playing on a page with just no actual goal. And then you keep coming back layer after layer and they just keep developing. Yep. Get that texture and
Then what I would do is give myself a period of time to work in my journal, and in this case, I'll have 10 minutes or so, and move your hand faster than your brain can go, and begin to work with the materials and the images and the textures that light you up. And I don't know if you know what that's like, to feel something in your body light up. Do you know what that's like? Is that foreign, or is that something that you understand? The goal is to learn how to be present with your own intuition. When you asked, I think that was a question that came out, is what is the goal? That presence with your senses as well as your own intuition. And the way we connect to our intuition is often through what we see, what we feel, what we touch, and then that gut experience.
Oh, Nikki said it's the little things that keep repeating. That is a good hint. Those little things that keep sparking that new joy.
That's right.
It doesn't have to be big things.
Actually, that's such a great point, because that's what this is all about too. It's paying attention to those little nuances and not pushing past them to the point where we get distracted from our subtle yeses, the things that are like, no, this is right, no, this isn't right. And that might be like the places you love to go. It might be the way you like to flow through your life. It might be the things you want to surround you with, or people you want to surround yourself with. It might be the sensory experiences that are in your life daily: music, food, taking time to enjoy, slow down, pay attention to what you really love. Anyway, the small nuances is so right.
I think that's super helpful to pay attention to those sparks, these little yeses, that every day, no matter what kind of stress is surrounding us, there might be an opportunity to experience some of that light up and get through it.
And I think in our art, we often have a light up related to, the things that really draw us in. We might also have a light up related to something that we have a lot of resistance to. And if there's a light up as you're making art related to something that you have a lot of resistance to, it might be a color, it might be a material, a type of material. Another way to engage in this and understand your yeses is to explore what your no's are. Like, I absolutely do not want this. And this thing is not a good fit for my life. Yeah. And you might find that you're living something that's not a good fit. So sometimes that's a way to get to the yeses too.
Right. So when you say a light up to the yes would be like a happy, bubbly kind of right? And then the light up and resistance, would that be like a pushback? I don't like this. And then just pay attention to both of those, because they can lead you. Both answers, like the bumpers on a bowling alley, can pull you in towards the middle. Both responses.
Yes, exactly. Yep. Yeah, and the light up on the yeses, it's truly like something in your spirit might leap just for a second. Have you ever had that happen? And if you haven't, it's okay. The point of all this is to begin to pay attention and to learn to recognize it, because the distractions in our world make it so that it's very hard to pay attention to that sometimes.
So I don't know if you can read Nikki's comment there. It's, how can colors light us up? I absolutely love them. I would say that is exactly a light up.
Yeah, you're lit up right there. Yeah. I am curious for Nikki if there's any colors specifically, though. Which ones? Which ones are the ones? And is there any resistance to certain ones? And then another avenue with that is, in your spirit, can you think of any connections to why you love that color or why there's resistance? So, for instance, this color here, for me, this burnt transparent orange oxide is one that continues to light me up, as you say. The first word that comes to mind when I think about that is is roots, earth, and ground. For me, there's something in that. Like, so there's going to be words, phrases, connections that immediately come to you that would not come to me related to a certain color. And so then I might go to another question and say, like, do I have that in my life? Do I have roots, ground, earth, connection, a rawness, a realness, I think.
So Nikki was mentioning that it's bright opera for them. And I was trying to translate, like, with what you just said about the color that brings up that earthiness, groundedness for you. You can take the color and apply it to other aspects of life, not necessarily just the color itself. And so I was asking Nikki, for the color bright opera, what does that spur in your life? How could that be connected?
Right.
Just take it one step further there.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. And sometimes when I'm actually doing the journal process, I don't necessarily make those connections too much. I just am paying attention. I'm staying in my body. And then at the end of the process, I'll do a little journal writing or a prompt with that art. And so, for instance, one prompt might be, if my yes had a voice, what would it say? You know, or if these colors had a voice, what would they say about my yeses? Or, you know, those kinds of prompts that then it moves us from our mid and lower brain up to this more analytical, connecting, meaning part of the brain. Yeah. But to stay in our body and just keep moving and working with the intuitions for a chunk of time, whether it be half an hour or 1 hour, is usually what I found to be the most helpful for not distracting too much from the intuition.
Yeah, I seem to find that to be the most helpful too, is just to allow myself to go, or my clients to go into just playing with the materials. We often don't even talk during this part, and just see what develops without an expectation or a specific plan. You start with a prompt, and then you see what happens, and then you pull that logical, analytical brain in there and do some writing, and that's where it weaves together.
When you take that extra step afterwards,
And so that's what I send out in my newsletters after these. I put some of those prompting questions to get further, because I know we can't do it all in a half an hour.
Yeah. And even like just taking the time this morning to get started and open and put your materials out there and then continue. I mean, it's a beginning place, and a lot of times that is the hardest thing to living a life with the yeses, is that we have a hard time, or people, I do, a lot of people have a hard time actually making the move to do it, to make it a priority, to make the time, to make the change. And so in this active part of doing this today, that's an active step toward creating that kind of life. So, yeah.
And every step matters.
Absolutely, all these little steps, just all like you said. Yeah, all the small ones. To pay attention.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I realized my glue ran out, so I started, and I will continue after. Let's see, what else would you like to say about it as we're moving through here? The yeses, the processing. Are there some other good questions that they might want to ask as they look at their colors or their images that develop? Or is there another step that you like to do after you intuitively play with those materials that have called your attention?
Well, one thing that I sometimes will do, I'll move back and forth in between. So I'll drop and I'll work with the materials as we are, choosing colors, choosing textures, but so kind of working in, so you're absorbed within it, and then stepping back and looking around. I think that's another part of this world of yeses, is getting absorbed within, almost like you're taken in a river down the river by the thing that's pulling you. And then stepping out and saying, okay, what's next? Like, what do I want to, taking a break to observe. And if it's possible actually to observe as you're working, that can be helpful too. So observing, I'll often the prompt in my mind, in my body, and in my heart. And so there's these, little static energy in our mind, these words, these tape recorders sometimes just little thoughts that pop up. Sometimes I'll just jot them down. So I'll have on my paper next to me, in my mind, in my body, in my heart. And as I'm working, there might be a thought, just write it down, write it down, write it down. That might be connected to a yes. It might be connected to a distraction. It might be connected to, it doesn't matter. It's whatever pops up.
Just taking note of it without judgment.
Exactly.
It's got something to tell you, but you don't have to figure it out right now.
Absolutely. So it's just having space to allow the art to help you observe without judging. Yeah. And so, so jotting that down. And in your heart there, or your spirit, there might be a leaping at times. There might be a sadness. There might be an emotion. There might be, something that you had no idea was there. So again, this is just about creating space for observing. That's a prompt I will use as I'm working. And I'll also keep a list of, things that light me up, colors that light me up, memories, feelings, images, places, a flow of life. So we've talked about that part. But sensory yeses. So that might be another little prompt, sensory yeses. Mm-hmm. And so for me, very layered in texture is a sensory yes. For me, this color that I showed you is a sensory yes. Yarn, or the softness of things sometimes can be a sensory yes. And again, these are parallel. If you take the time to make this parallel to the next step in your life, there's a reason that softness does something to my body and calms. There's a reason that color, that image. Mountains, for me, they light me up and will continue to light me up. I need to be living by them. I need to be in them regularly. I need to, if I'm not, I need to make a change in my life where I am. These are the things where if this thing is not happening in your world, we need to make changes so they are, because that is going to be our lifeline.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a ripple effect into everyone around us.
That's the real goal of this thing is to start being able to know where our path is and how to have more of the yes kind of living that's authentic with who we are, right? And less of I've got to do it because I've got to do it, which just leads to burnout and stress. And
and I would just end too on the prompt or the thought, I give myself permission. Because what do you want to give yourself permission to do that feeds that yes? Or I give myself permission to whatever the yes is, to spend more time, to take more time off, to have more space in my life, to do things that bring me joy every day. And what do you want to give yourself permission? What does your art journal page say about what you want permission for?
And that makes me ask another question of what is my resistance, or who giving myself permission to do these things? Like, why do we put those blocks in? So much
that's a whole other art page.
Whole nother one. One thing always leads to at least 5 others.
That's right.
But this is cool. And in my newsletter, I will put links to your websites and stuff. And
awesome.
You've got the art journaling workshop in Grand Marais one day, and then you've got a 2-day spontaneous process painting. Which I went to that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Really worth it. Grand Marais is beautiful if anybody needs a little personal retreat.
That's right. And more around the country, I'll be doing a retreat in Sedona. That's a 4-day retreat, Sedona, Arizona. It's going to be combining all forms of body, mind, spirit healing. And that will be in March.
It's so cool how you have woven your life, your yeses together, so you have your wilderness and your art and all of this healing. And for anybody who hasn't ever spent time with Bevie, it's just inspiring when somebody's living authentically like that. You bubble. I think people around you light up when they're just near you.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for creating space for this and inviting me to come.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care.